Newcastle United are Carabao Cup winners. 70 years in the making. They've done it against essentially the Premier League title winners this season, Liverpool, and they did it in an amazing fashion. Not only did they outclass Arsenal in the semi-final, Eddie Howe, tactical masterclass to beat Arsenal across the two legs. Not an easy game. But Liverpool, the best team in the country from minute 1 to minute 90, Newcastle were the better side. They heavily deserve to win. Eddie Howe deserves credit. The players deserve credit. No Lewis Hall, who's arguably been one of their best players this season. No Anthony Gordon. And Newcastle were excellent. They wanted it more. They were winning the duels more. They just brought that fight. And Liverpool were very, very poor today. So 70 years without a trophy. But it's Newcastle who win the Carabao Cup. And I have to say, how good were the Newcastle fans today? They were absolutely incredible and such a deserved victory for Newcastle. Not an easy competition to win. Arsenal, then Liverpool, and very much deserved. Dan Burn, big Newcastle fan, wins it as well. And what a week for Dan Burn. Dan Burn must be having the best week of his life. He's got his first ever England call-up, which is pretty much deserved when you actually think that he's been very solid for Newcastle lately. He's also scored in a cup final, and Newcastle have won a cup final. So what a week for Dan Burn, who definitely deserves more respect. He was always a solid player at Brighton. He had to play left back at times last season, which probably isn't his best position, but he's been solid this season. As for Liverpool, Newcastle wanted it more. Newcastle were winning the duels, the second balls, really pushing the midfield. I thought Joelinton, Bruno Guimaraes and Tonali, what a performance there. Particularly Tonali was crazy for me. Joelinton was covering lots of ground. They brought the battle. They brought the physicality. Liverpool went into extra time midweek. Newcastle just looked a bit fresher. They brought the battle. They brought the physicality. And I have to say, Chiesa, man, he should be getting more minutes. He should be getting a lot more minutes for Liverpool. I think Slot's got that wrong there. I think Slot got a few things wrong. But let's talk about the game. Let me give you my thoughts as a Man United fan, and I will brag that Man United beat Newcastle in a Carabao Cup final, but Liverpool can't. No, but let's actually talk about the game. Shots on target, 7 shots, 2 on target for Liverpool, 17 shots, 6 on target for Newcastle. Newcastle deserved to win. 100% Newcastle deserved to win. If Liverpool had made it 2-2 and gone to extra time, it would have been hard on Newcastle. 2 big chances for Liverpool, 3 for Newcastle. Touches in the penalty area, 17 to 26. But Liverpool had more possession. But what this kind of game was a game where Newcastle were able to sort of dominate the midfield out of possession with the work, with the duelings, with the physicality that they brought. They were absolutely incredible, Newcastle United. And I also just want to say a big shout out to Eddie Howe, English manager as well, so always nice to see him win things. As you can see with statistics and metrics here, Newcastle 1.74 XG to Liverpool 0.89. Newcastle had a much higher threat. Despite Liverpool having possession, when Newcastle had the ball, I noticed they were so eager to get forward. Every time Newcastle got the ball, everybody was running forward, trying to, take advantage of the space that Liverpool had left. You could see Liverpool miss Trent today. Maybe Gakpo could have started and Diaz would have been more impactful off the bench. But Chiesa was really good for Liverpool. He was fantastic. But every time Newcastle got the ball, everyone from midfield was running their heart to get up the pitch. And every time they didn't have the ball, everyone was running their heart out to get back. They must have ran their heart out. They must be knackered. So here are my thoughts on Newcastle 2, Liverpool 1. Newcastle wanted them more. They were hungry to win the ball back, close down Liverpool. And when they did win it back, they were eager to attack. They were dangerous. Newcastle were better in duels. Newcastle were good at pressing, out of possession, man to man. Newcastle were there. And Eddie Howe knows that Arsenal, incredible team, but he went and defended low block against Arsenal, frustrated them, hit them on the counter with the qualities of Gordon and Isak. Eddie Howe knows he hasn't got Gordon today, he hasn't got Lewis Hall today. Liverpool are a technically better team. They're going to dictate the ball. They're going to dominate the game. But Eddie Howe knew physically, Joelinton, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, workhorses. Also probably, I think because Liverpool has sort of won the Premier League and Newcastle haven't won anything in years, and this is Newcastle's chance to win something, it probably means a bit more to Newcastle. And they were up for it. They were hungry. They gave everything. I think the boost and the win against West Ham was big. But Newcastle's attack caused Liverpool a lot of problems, but they wanted it more. Every time the ball was in play, Newcastle were diving in. They wanted it more. They were more intense. From minute 1 to minute 90, it wasn't like Liverpool were better for the first 10 minutes. Newcastle were on it. They wanted it. They were eager in the duels, and they were dangerous. Isak, for me, is best striker in the world. Every time the ball got near Isak, I felt like he was going to score. It's his instincts, his movement, the way he anticipates everything. Even the offside goal. the way he anticipates the ball to fall from there and get the shot off. He's clinical, he will shoot, he gets in the right positions. But Isak, he can pass the ball, he can dribble, he can link up, he can be involved in all-round play, but it's anticipation, reading of the game, being in the right position at the same time. He's so good. And the Newcastle fans were unbelievable. They were so loud. And then you look at Burn. What a fantastic finish. What a performance from Dan Burn in terms of an all-round performance. Defensively brilliant, kept Liverpool quiet. I don't think Salah had a shot today, or it didn't really do anything today. What a performance from Dan Burn. But he scored a fantastic goal as well. An absolutely fantastic goal. He gave his heart out. He's Newcastle through and through. He's just got his England call up, and well deserved. And it was a really good cross by Trippier. I think Trippier has really stepped up these last few weeks for Newcastle. He's shown his leadership, his organisation, because I felt that Newcastle won this game because they were so organised off the pitch. They managed to put in such a good performance, not off the pitch, off the ball. They managed to put in such a good performance off the ball that they were almost in control of the game, despite despite having less possession, because they were, as soon as the ball was there, they were closing it down, they were winning it back. And when they won the ball back, they were so direct on what they were going to do. I thought Harvey Barnes did really well to put some good crosses in. I thought everybody put in the top performance. And I think where Newcastle won today was physically. They pressed Liverpool high, they outran them, they were super physical in the jaws, and they looked up to it. I felt that Newcastle physically beat Liverpool today in the duels, winning the second balls, pressing them, working them out of possession, and they were incredible. And Eddie Howe deserves a lot of credit. He got it tactically spot on. He dropped Newcastle deep when needed. People would be worried that they were inviting pressure on, but he wasn't. It was an out-of-possession game. They dropped deep when needed. They marked up when needed, but they knew whenever Liverpool had the ball, press, close them down, go into the duels. They made it a physical game. And they have players like Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes who are technically good, that can exploit the space. They've got players like Isak that are fantastic at scoring goals. Harvey Barnes had a good game. Jacob Murphy's a good player. But from minute 1 to 90, it was sit deep, but not too deep. That you're inviting on pressure, but sit deep, win back the ball, press, move forward with it. And it was excellent. Eddie Howe got a spot on versus Arsenal. He got a spot on versus Liverpool. He got Newcastle into the Champions League 2 seasons ago. Eddie Howe as a manager, what he did from Bournemouth, taking them from League 2 to the Premier League, what he's done at Newcastle, when people were saying, he's just a bit part manager for Newcastle, it's been fantastic. Eddie Howe did not get a single signing in the summer, because I'm not going to count Lloyd Kelly and is it ECILA. I didn't get a single proper signing that starts for Newcastle in the summer. Tonali coming back this season was like a new signing. I think Tonali has been one of the most underrated players in football this season. But what Eddie Howe's done at Newcastle, losing Minter, losing Elliot Anderson, has been phenomenal, and he deserves more credit, because when Newcastle dropped off, it's massively been to do with injuries. And obviously Newcastle have got elements of the recruitment spot on, but players like Joelinton were here before Eddie Howe, and he was an absolute workhorse today in midfield. Tonali, Bruno, Joelinton, those three in midfield, I said it was the dominance in their duels. Maybe because Liverpool have played in midweek all those minutes, Gravenberch, Soboslai, McAllister run into the ground, but Tonali, Bruno, Joelinton, workhorses covering so much ground. But also with Tonali and Bruno, they're technically good. Longstaff will work his socks off, but he's not quite as good on the ball or getting involved in play and making those touches. And I thought, for me, Tonali is one of the most underrated players in the league. I think he's been the difference maker. I think Tonali in this game, he's just such a big step up from Longstaff. And that's no disrespect to John Longstaff. He works hard, but he's not the most technically good player. But you could see the difference Tonali had made. And I'm saying this as a Manchester United fan. Tonali is probably one of the most underrated players in the Premier League this season. He was phenomenal. He can cover the ground off the ball. He can win the duels. He's physically good. But on the ball, when he gets the ball, he can progress the ball. He's good on the ball, good at the touches, very press resistant, very much able to drop deep. And he gave Bruno Guimaraes that license to get forward and create. And Bruno Guimaraes is monstrous when he can get forward and create. Tonali, as a signing, I think he's proven everything. People call him a flop last year, which is kind of crazy because he got that ban. But I think he was basically a new signing this season. He's basically a new signing this season for Newcastle, and he was absolutely excellent. And I think he's probably been the most underrated player in the Premier League this season, because we hear about how good Gravenberch has been and Casado has been, but Tonali has been ridiculously good, especially because what it's done for Bruno Guimaraes as well. So he's been phenomenal. But I wanted to just say, let's put some respect on Eddie Howe, his achievements. I'm going to talk about Eddie Howe in a second. I need to wrap up this video in the next 5 minutes, because it's 5 minutes the Man United game starts, but what Eddie Howe's achieved at Newcastle was fantastic. First English manager to win a major trophy since 2008, since Redknapp, organised off the ball against Liverpool, against Arsenal. He was fantastic. his tactics for Newcastle were fantastic. They were spot on. The shape, the pressing, the work rate, everything was spot on. I think looking at Liverpool, they missed Trent. Liverpool didn't create many chances. Salah was not a threat. And, Trent was clearly a miss for Liverpool. I think Arne Slot maybe got his starting 11 wrong. Diaz and Jota are more impactful off the bench. I mean, Chiesa definitely deserves more minutes. I look at Chiesa, I thought he was fantastic today. And I think there was definitely things that Arne Slot got wrong. But Eddie Howe got everything spot on. Eddie Howe got everything right. And Newcastle have been looking to this. This is their biggest game of the season. This is their biggest moment. And you know what? As a Manchester United fan, I'm obviously happy Liverpool lost. But I'm happy to see Newcastle get a trophy. Because your fan base was incredible today. Your fan base, the support, that everything was incredible today. And I'm glad to see that you get something for that. Because I know how heartbroken you were when we beat you in the Carabao Cup. But now you've played Liverpool, I'm absolutely glad to see that Newcastle won, because Newcastle were a fan base deserving of a trophy, 100%. And I wanted to give Eddie Howe a shout out. Many disregard him as just another English manager who does not possess the necessary tactical nous. This couldn't be further from the truth. He has built one of the most imperious sides in Europe, platformed his superior individuals incredibly while squeezing every ounce of quality out of the lesser ones, Murphy, Trippier, Burn. A team that can physically dominate any side in Europe, solid out of possession structures, triggers, cues, all whilst expansive transition killers. One of the greatest English minds in the game. Big shout out to Eddie Howe. Fantastic. Deserves more credit. Isak, best striker in the world. Every time he got the ball, he was dangerous. His positioning, he was a threat. Got to give Isak credit. Unbelievable. 27 goals and 37 appearances for club and country. And then Dan Burn. What a week Dan Burn is having. 2 key passes, 1 goal, 11 clearances, 7 duels won. Give Dan Burn credit. He's a centre-back. He's not that big name that gets credit. He's been quite underrated this season. Dan Burn, absolutely excellent today. So big shout out to him. Thank you for watching. Bye.